Today's session of Visual JForex, we are going to learn about an old Japanese indicator named KAIRI relative index. It was pretty familiar before the RSI came in, but even now, though the RSI is more frequently used, I think there is utility in this indicator, and we can build the automated trading setup while using this indicator either independently or in conjunction with other momentum indicator. So we will see the use of KAIRI relative index in today's session, how we can utilize this indicator to build the automated setup. Here we don't have the description, we straight away head to the Visual JForex board developed by the Dukascopy Bank SA, and in this we will add the indicator block, and on the chart then we will see how we can customize this indicator block for building the profitable automated setup. Of course we have to see the prior price action, the price moves, and we have to take observations and see what kind of setups are likely to profitable in a statistically significant way, and then we can use this indicator if we feel that our setup is good enough, and then we can keep it running on the JForex platform to do the job on our behalf. So here we have to define these input values, and depending on the input parameters we get the output value. This is the output, that is the value of KAIRI relative index, and it will give us an idea whether the momentum is on the buy side or on the sell side. So we straight away add this indicator. Here we have to do the quick search, and we will have this is the KAIRI relative index, and I will briefly explain to you the logic behind the use of KAIRI. So here this indicator is calculated simply as the difference between the price and the moving average. Now the moving average can be of different types, as you can see from the block. We get to choose the different moving averages. So basically we see what is the deviation between the current price, the tick price, and the average price, and the larger the average, larger the difference, the stronger the momentum. You can say that earlier it used to find the overbought and oversold scenarios, but I more of believe in trading with the trend. So one base case scenario is that you can look for the crossover between these values above 0 and below 0, and you can use that situation to initiate the trades in the direction of the trend, and also the overbought and oversold scenarios can also be considered after looking at the values. Whenever we see that KAIRI values have reached extremes, then we can see the possibilities emerging. If there is some sort of reversal taking place, we can decide to jump against the trend and take the contra trend positioning also. So first thing, we used to go for the buy trades when the KAIRI indicator crosses over from negative territory, that is the output value is below 0, and then the output value crosses above 0. In such scenarios you can go for the buy trade, and in the bearish momentum, if the output value drops below 0, then you can look for the sell trades. And also the overbought oversold scenario can also be utilized, and in that scenario we pay heed to the absolute value of this output, and larger the output value, better it is, as it suggests the oversold or overbought momentum. And whenever we see the momentum reversing, the either if the KAIRI output value has been in negative territory, and it has been falling, and then after falling significantly, if it starts to rise, you can say that momentum is likely to turn, and in such scenarios you can go for the buy trade, and vice versa for the sell trade when we see that the underlying instrument has been in the overbought scenario, and this carry relative index has run on the higher side and now it starts to make some reversal. In such scenarios we can go for the sell trade. So that way also we can utilize this indicator. So we go back on the chart to define the parameters. Here first thing we have to define the instrument, in which instrument you want to build the automated setup for whichever instrument you want to work with. You can simply take that instrument from this list. These are the these are the instruments which are supported on the platform. For today's session, we are working with the USD JPY, so I am saving this USD JPY. The candlestick time period, we will change it to 4 hours as our chart is of 4 hours. You have the option of going for any time period starting from 10 seconds to a month. So all these time periods are supported on the Visual JForex platform. The shift is the look back period, whether you want the current value or whether you want the prior values. You can take those values simply by changing the shift. And here if the shift is at 0, that means you are taking into consideration the current valuations, current output value. And if the shift is say 2, 3, 4 and so on, that means you are going back in time. And if suppose for example if the shift is 5, then you are going back 5 candlesticks period. Now the each candlestick is of 4 hours and we are going 5 candlesticks period back, means we are actually going 20 hours back. Then the time period is the cumulative candlestick amount, how many candlesticks you want to take into consideration, that is the time period. And here we are keeping these at 30, but let me check if it is 30. Okay, so here this carry relative index is being calculated after taking into consideration the last 30 candlesticks of 4 hours each. You can always change the value. If suppose for example if you want to make it 14 to make the carry relative index more responsive to the price action, you can do that as well. All you have to do is do editing, remove this 30 and write in 14. Or if you want to increase the time period, you can also do that. So here we have the carry indicator, carry relative index, which is now more responsive compared to the longer time period calculation. We can make it like 50 or 100. We can also increase. So you have to decide what is the possible setup, what is the likelihood of any particular combination proving more profitable, and you have to decide and then build the automated setup accordingly. Moving average, we have these choices of various moving averages to calculate the deviation from the average price to the last tick price. So we can take into consideration all these types of moving averages: SMMA, LWMA, HMA, T3MMA, KAMA, TRIMA, TMA, DMA, and so on. So we have all these options. Suppose if I want to work with different moving average, then all I have to do is change it. For example, TRIMA it is, then the difference will be calculated between the TRIMA value and the last tick price, and then we get the output. So here I will explain to you the change on the chart also. Now it is watch out for the output value. As I change the moving average, we will see slight deviation happening. Okay, you might have observed the value has jumped slightly on the higher side. If we make SMA, I think on the lower side actually. If we use another indicator, moving average type, we see further changes happening. Now we are going with the trimmer. This is how it works. You can design the setup in any way which you feel is likely to prove profitable. Settings on which side of the price action you want to do the calculation, bid side, ask side. Slight difference is always there because of the spread between the bid and the ask. And applied price, the candlestick's price which needs to be taken into consideration, whether it is closing price, opening price, high price, low price, median price, typical price. So we have got all these options depending on which the output value will vary. If I edit this, you will observe that output value for the KAIRI changes. So you have to do a lot of experimentation, see what is the price, what is the type of price which will serve your purpose well, and then you have to take into consideration that price. If I use high price, we have slight difference, low price. So here now we stick with the closing price of that particular candlestick. For last 14 candlesticks is being taken into consideration while calculating this KAIRI relative index. So that's it from my side for today's session. I hope you have been able to understand the use of this indicator. It is fairly simple, and it gives you an idea of the trend of the underlying instrument, and depending on that you can choose to go for a fresh trade, or you might simply decide to sit on the sidelines. Either way, you will have to do a lot of observation, and then also extensive testing will be needed before you can be sure about your setup involving the KAIRI relative index. So that's it from my side for today's session. We will be back tomorrow with another technical indicator. Till then, have a fabulous time ahead. Goodbye.